I have a habit of saying kids, but what age are we really looking at today for our discussion?
The Generation Z, Gen Z,
Mhm.
young adults, and they are the ones born between 1997 and 2012. So right now, the youngest ones are like 14 years old and high schoolers, like the kids I deal with, and young adults in their 20s. The oldest is like around 28, 29 now.
Yeah, oh boy. That whole generation has got some problems. Um, we're gonna figure some things out because, again, we're gonna be going over career readiness, and I believe you have 7 secrets to talk about on the career readiness, and what's really important today is jobs for those who are coming out of high school or who are in their early 20s. What do they do to start that first job? So I really wanna get into some of that, and then also that Gen Z dilemma.
Yes, yes.
So, that dilemma is why there's a number of graduates that are failing at work.
My book is called Professional Life Skills for Young Adults: 7 Keys to Empower Career Readiness. One of the reasons why I wrote this book is because my oldest daughter was going to start college. And I also have been teaching an electives class called Career and Life Links for a while. And I wanted to teach my daughters these skills that are important. And I became friends with Facebook group for parents of young adults and college students. And I saw the complaint around this time of the year about how colleges are not teaching their kids how to get a job. They're teaching the subject matter, but they don't know how to dress for an interview. How do they even go to find a job? How to even write a resume? And the colleges offer career centers. They offer courses, they offer classes, but let's be real, not all of the students are going to take advantage of those opportunities. So that is the reason why I started this. And also, another problem that these young adults are having is the pandemic. The pandemic was really detrimental uh, for their social skills and also for the social development that they get during that time. They didn't have opportunities for in-person internships or in-person jobs, and that was detrimental to them.
Mm. Yeah, it's hard to realize even right now, uh, the effect that that had on the younger generation, social skills and things like that. Because, I mean, that was about f 4 to 5 years of their life,
Yeah.
our life, and it really made it put a huge dent in it.
Yeah, we're still seeing
Uh,
the effects, at schools with kids who still don't know how to read very well. They don't comprehend what they're reading. It's a real problem.
yeah, and like I said, as far as colleges and things like that, they do have the, um, counselors, they do have their departments as far as, um,
Career
you know,
centers, yeah.
career centers, but I think it's a little bit different than real life skills, which n still, at least especially now, it needs to be taught. As simple as it is, like you were saying, perhaps how to dress for an interview, um, how to even behave
Yeah,
at an interview
I
or during an interview.
I cover all of
Be
that, yeah. So there's 7
because
important skills that we need to keep in mind, to teach these kids. So the parents are asking for colleges to be more intentional in teaching these
Yeah.
skills. And some colleges are taking that advice from parents and having short 7-week classes, half credit classes that the kids can take to start preparing for that. But the first
Mm,
important skill that I talk about in my book is personal appearance, because the way you look, the way you present yourself, it gives you confidence. And it also is important that kids realize that you only have one opportunity to make an excellent first impression. And it only takes seconds. And it's very important for them. So how they dress for the interview. I'll give you an example. One young lady who showed up for my daughter's workplace for an interview came looking like she just rolled out of bed, wearing a sweatpants and a sweatshirt. And no, she did not get the job because she didn't cause a very good impression. Like, you need to prepare yourself, You have to get
Yeah.
there not on time, but 10 minutes earlier at least, because you have to
I,
account
I,
for
I,
traffic.
yes. Now I have to throw in because, like you said, the first impression, and it's funny how first means first impression. I think people have gotten used to saying, "Oh, it doesn't matter. This is not how I really am." Well, why are you coming this way if this is that first impression? Oh, I'll be better next time.
Yeah.
It's first time,
Yes.
one.
Yes, exactly. It only takes few seconds to make that first good impression. It has to be excellent. You don't have a second chance.
Yeah.
Yep.
And as far as all that goes, like I said, as part of your dress, there is like a dress code where, again, I think a lot of people, uh, the Gen Z,
Hmm.
may think in their head that it's, I'm going to be who I am. So therefore, I'm going to dress the way I want to present myself the way I am, which is we push that, be yourself, but that's not, there are confinements when you go to look for a job. Recruiters and whatnot are looking for the better you. I don't know how to say it,
Yeah.
but the better
There's
you.
a protocol to follow, and they're not learning that. Sometimes they
Right.
might not be learning that at home. So it's up to us, the adults in the university, the colleges, to make sure that they learn. It sounds like obvious, right? It's like that's so obvious, present yourself well, dress well, wear like slacks or or skirt below the knee, not too short, and a nice blouse, not a t-shirt, So it's it's important that they understand that there is a protocol to follow. There are rules to follow. It's great to be yourself. That is fine, but not the first time you're going to go for an interview and meet a future employer.
Yeah. And you have to, I would imagine, you have to know the type of job that you're going for also somewhat dictates what you're going to wear or how you're going to present yourself for that first time, right?
Yep, definitely. Yeah. If you're going to go into a finance or a legal department or even medical, make sure that you're wearing a suit and a jacket. So as opposed to maybe going to work at a retail or maybe just a different kind of maybe in education also, which is a little bit like you would call it maybe casual, business casual, as opposed to just
Hmm.
business formal. Hmm.
Yeah. Even if you're going to go, like you said, retail store, even if you're going to go work for a retail, um, a shoe store,
Hmm.
it, still you have to be presentable. Don't go in there with a t-shirt on and your jeans. Go, oh, this is just like a sports t-shirt, shoe store.
Exactly. Yeah.
And especially if you're going to a Nike and you're wearing an Adidas shirt,
Yeah.
don't do that.
And what is
Uh,
also important, is to shower before you go to the interview. Make sure that you shower, make sure that you brush your teeth. I tell this to my daughter. It doesn't matter whether it's in the morning, the interview is in the morning, the afternoon. Make sure you shower that morning, brush your teeth before you go, and just be presentable. Present your
yeah,
best self.
yes, the whole you, everything. Like I said, be sure you are hygiene ready as well.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
boy, we could go on talking all about this, but we still have to go through 6 other
Yep.
secrets.
Yeah. And the second one is start your career, where kids, I talk about in my book about doing career exploration meetings, where
Hmm.
students, young adults can send an email to somebody who they're interested in learning more about what their job it looks like, and if they're intimidated by approaching somebody who they don't know, start with people they know. Maybe the parents know about somebody, who, or maybe it's a relative works for a company they're interested in. Go meet with the person for 15 minutes and say, "Dear Mr. Smith, I saw on LinkedIn that you work for company X. I'm interested in learning more about your industry and how you got to the position you have right now. Is it okay if we can meet for 15 minutes?" And most people say yes because they want to help young adults. Somebody helped them in the past, so they want to help too. They want to pay it forward and help others. So they can go and shadow, So I ask my daughters to do that many times, and they are a little bit intimidated about contacting somebody they don't know. But I said it's okay because I don't know why this generation has this idea that it is weird to talk to people. It's like,
Yes.
and I don't blame them. The pandemic, did a lot of damage in that respect. But
Yeah.
it's important to give them, to encourage them. It's okay, if the person says no, well, then go to the next one. But most likely they will say yes. So my youngest daughter has been shadowing other some professionals in the field that she wants to work in. And it has been very
Mm.
useful for her to find out whether she wants to really pursue that profession or not. So it's
Yeah,
very
it's
important.
like doing research the job that you're going to get into,
Mhm.
and we can use the internet as well to find somebody or at least to learn about the company or the job. And the other thing too kind of leads me to thinking about it's find a mentor. And it's the mentor doesn't have to be a whole year long. It could be I look at it as, "Oh, I got mentored for 20 minutes.
Mhm.
They
Exactly.
filled me in." That was a mentor to me because they filled me in on whatever it was that I was interested in, and they told me about it.
Yes.
So,
Yes, a mentor is very important, when they get their job, somebody who's older who can show them how to work, how the system works and how what the culture of the organization is. But one
yeah.
thing that is important is to be able to present themselves really well on their resume. And for that, the Career Center is very important. And it has to be a resume that is just simple. Because nowadays, AI, the applicant tracking system, only reads simple text. It doesn't read fancy fonts or emojis or icons or charts or columns or anything. It's just simple text. And it's very hard to get through because a lot of these kids are complaining that I am applying to all of these jobs and I'm not hearing back from them. What is happening? And it's because the AI is not reading if they read the resume and they don't pass it on to the recruiter because either it didn't use the words that were in the job description or they're using words that are not appropriate or it's too long. They're like sentences are too long. The applicant tracking system wants short bullet points. So that's important to know about that. And also, don't lie on your resume. Don't exaggerate. A lot of people think, oh, they're not going to find out. Yes, they do.
18 years old, and I have a master's degree in it's like, "Wait a second."
Yeah. So make
But
sure that you are genuine, you are telling the truth, that everything is, it can be verified and is factual. Don't exaggerate. Do not lie at all because that is detrimental and people talk and it's going to get around that you're not trustworthy or reliable.
uh, you mentioned resume writing. There is a skill to that. So that's another thing that I think that um, they need to look into how to write the resume. If they're in the high school, if they're not in college and not, and a career skills coach, I don't know, high schools, they have some of that too, right?
Yeah, I believe that they have counselors and there's a career center too at the high schools. Yeah.
Okay.
There's an office
But
there because it's called College and Career Center as well. Because they're like college counselors and they can advise kids on careers because a lot of high school students have part-time jobs.
can I ask you, this is
Mhm.
going to take us off the seven secrets, but how would somebody these days, a high school student who says, I'm going to skip college and I'm going to go to work because I need to or want to make money now,
So
but I don't know what to do for work. What, how can they help themselves or how can the parents help guide them into a career or a job that's going to fit them, their personality and stuff like that?
Well, usually, when they talk about that, it's like probably they want a gap year, what they call a gap
Hmm.
year. And for that, sometimes the students get to do like an internship or before they go to college, or they also do a study abroad program, or they just find a job in retail. But the important thing is like for parents to still encouraging their kids. If they want to go to a 4-year university, that's fine. If they want to do an apprenticeship, maybe during that gap year, that is okay. Maybe try to figure out what is it that you're interested in, because not everybody is meant to go to a 4-year college, and that's okay. We have a lot of community colleges. We also have trade schools. And a lot of those jobs are really going to be very good. Like we need people who are electricians, plumbers, mechanics, people who can work the AC, fix and air conditioning. Especially here in Arizona, they make a lot of good money. So those careers are good. So they need to sit down with their student and say, you are not going to spend a whole year doing nothing, sitting here, just playing video games and doing nothing. We have to have a plan. What is the plan that we're going to
Yeah,
do?
it's not saying I'm going to take a break because I just finished high school.
Mm-hmm.
Because taking that break, as you said, like the gap year, taking the break and not doing anything sets you back probably 2 years, double the time that you don't do anything, because the people who graduated with you are passing you up, and then you got to catch up. The people who graduated after you, who move quickly into it, they're already at least where you're at, if not ahead of you. So,
Yeah, it's important. I'll give you an example. My youngest daughter decided, she talked to us before she graduated from high school about taking a gap year. She said, we started noticing that she wasn't very excited about applying for college, even though, we've been saying college, college, college is very important. And she was going to high school, but she was also doing veterinary sciences class at the local community college. She did that for 2 years and she loved it. She was so excited. She did so well. She found out that she really loves veterinary medicine, but she wasn't ready to go to college. And
mm,
we sat her down and said, "So what's going on? Why aren't you excited about going to college?" And she said, "I'm tired. I've
uh,
been taking honors classes. I've been taking veterinary sciences classes after school. It's a lot. And to be honest, I'm tired. I need a break." Okay, that is fine. And I was fine with it because she was graduating early. She was only 17. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to send a 17-year-old to college right away. So I said, that's fine, but let's sit down and figure out what is it that you want to do. So she tried applying to, because she took the test and she was able to get her certification as a veterinary assistant. So that's a good entry level position to work in a veterinary office. But she was
yes,
17 years old. So because of her age, she's a liability. She's an insurance liability. She's not an adult yet. So she wasn't able to get a job as veterinary assistant, which was very discouraging. She's like, I put all of this work and now I cannot get a job because I'm too young. So we came up with a different plan. So what do you want to do now? And she wasn't sure. So she came to I said, well, my school needs some uh, people to come and help us, campus aides, campus assistants. You can make some money, while you wait to be 18 years old and be able to work. So she did. She came over. And then around maybe like December, she said, you know what? I'm ready to go back to go to college. I said, really? Yeah, I'm ready. She applied and now she's doing fantastic. She's now a sophomore at in the pre-vet program, pre-veterinary medicine, and she's doing fantastic. And she says that every kid, every high school student should take a gap year. Because when she started as a freshman, she could not believe how disorganized they are, how immature they are. she felt that that 1 year helped her become a little bit more mature and also be more responsible and more focused on her um, idea. Her goal is to go to veterinary school, and that is what she's very focused on that, and she doesn't get distracted by other things. So maybe a gap year is a good idea for some students. Other students, they just want to go to college, and that's fine too. But if they want to take a gap year, the
Yeah.
important thing is to have a plan. What is it that you're going to do?
Yeah, I was gonna say she was productive
Mm-hmm.
in her gap year instead of like you're saying, don't take that break and play video games and kick the ball around
Yeah.
and things like that. That's maybe it's a poor choice of words for me to say, but that's a waste of your time because your time is important. What you lose, you'll never get back, and you have to always keep the future you in mind. I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it because you may come across somebody in their 40s or 50s that say, "I wish I would have when I was younger. I wish I would have when I finished school. Why didn't you?" I kind of did what I wanted to. I
Mm-hmm.
thought things would be easier later.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah, so it
So,
was it was a good experience, and I'm very happy that she had that experience and that she was
yeah,
honest with us to tell us she was tired. And that's okay, after studying so hard for 4 years and doing an extra program after school, that's a lot of work. So,
yeah. You get burnout.
mhm.
Kids will have burnout as well.
Yeah, and she was
Uh,
honest to say that to tell us that if she went to college, she was going to fail because she was too tired. And we didn't want that
I
to happen, you know?
that's two of the other things I think
Mhm.
students kids need to be able to tell their parents like your daughter was able to tell you, and parents need to be able to listen and understand, okay, maybe my child is going through a burnout and just wants to take this break, but I will make sure that they don't just sit around the house and play video
Yeah,
games,
exactly. Have a
but
plan so they're
have a
productive.
plan. Yeah. uh so
You want to
what's
talk about
another
the next skill?
yes.
So the next skill is social skills, which is very important when you start a job. So it's good to be look approachable and to be friendly and with your coworkers and get to know them. Don't just be on the surface, but ask them about how was your weekend? How what do you do? Do you have any plans? You know, be interested in the people you're working with. And also respect the hierarchy of the organization. The way you talk to your coworkers or your supervisor or your boss is not the same way you talk to your friends. As soon as you walk
Right.
into your workplace, you have to switch the way you talk, the way you speak. I tell that to my students, when you walk into my classroom, you need to switch your language. Don't talk to me like I'm your friend. I'm your teacher, you know. So if in the organization you have to address your supervisors as Mrs. or Mr., you need to do so instead of calling them by their names. Of course, unless they ask you to call them by their first name. So that would be
Hmm.
okay. But if they don't, if everybody calls them Mr. and Mrs., make sure you follow. Don't go and call them Robert. That's just not, that is a sign of disrespect you know
Yeah.
so what is important is to be able to talk to your friends, the way you talk to your friends, that's fine, but not when you are at work. Another thing that's important, your work time is not personal time. So don't spend time on your phone when you are at work, and you need to be productive and show the organization that you are aligning with their mission, and that you are working in the betterment of the organization and what's best for them. So I'll give you an example. Um, I heard about a young lady who her boss was looking for, like, where is she? Where is she? And this is during work time. Her supervisor needed to do something, and they found her under the desk on her phone scrolling on Instagram. Instead of using
Wow.
that time during her personal time, her break time, her 15-minute break time. So what happened? She got fired for doing that. Yeah, because you're using work time for your personal time. And that's not how it works.
It's part of respect.
Mhm.
Respect your workplace because you the coworker, the employee, the young person, you ask for respect as well. So you need to be able to give respect. So, and when you're at a workplace, you need to be respectful of the workplace and work environment.
Yeah, and that goes also with getting to work on time. A lot of the employers that's one of the complaints they have about these young adults. They come to work late and they leave early. They
Mm,
don't want to like offer to help or assist coworkers with their tasks if they're done with it. Like, people usually say, "Hey, I'm done with my work. Do you need any help?" No, they don't want to do that. They don't dress for the job. And it's interesting because, and that's one of the things I researched in doing, for this book, is that there was a survey of intelligent.com, which also said that 85% of employers do not want to hire recent college graduates because of those problems that they have. They are telling the university colleges, please prepare these kids for the workplace. They are not ready. A lot of
yeah.
the, students, young adults are bringing their mothers to their interview with them. Do you hear about that?
Yes, but that's a whole other issue.
I know, right? It's like that is a red flag. You need to
Yeah.
let these kids grow up. And so they found out also that a lot of the parents are negotiating the contracts for their kids.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, that in itself is a whole other thing. That was that previous generation towards the end, that was their issue, and it's just made things worse for the Gen
The
Z.
helicopter parenting, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
so we
Yeah,
have to let
and that's a
them go,
term.
let them adult, let them become who they are going to be. So employers are noticing those things and they're reluctant, and the rate of unemployment for young adults is higher than the regular population by like
Mm,
2%. hmm So, and is this detrimental for our economy? So, we have to be intentional about that. We have to make sure, what is going to be good for our economic future is to make sure that these young adults can succeed in the workplace because a lot of them are getting fired after 3 or 6 months on the job because and some of them are on improvement plans because they can't deal, they don't know how to behave, how to work in this kind of environment. So we have to make sure we give them those opportunities and we guide them. They need guidance. If somebody doesn't teach them how to do these things, how are they going to know? They're not
right.
born knowing these things.
Well, the other thing too, to me, and this is a whole other topic and subject, but people are right now with AI are so afraid that it's going to take their job. It's going to take their job. Well, if you're not doing your job, something, AI or someone will take your job. So, in order to protect your job, it's easy.
Mhm.
Do the job.
Yep, exactly. Just do what you're told, you know? It
Mhm.
doesn't matter whether you think doing it a different way is better. That's not what your supervisor told you how to do it. Just do it the way they want you to do it, you know? And
Yes.
that also brings me to behavioral skills, how it's important to also network, in the place and how to network properly as well. So social and behavioral skills are very similar in how you socialize at work or how you behave at work, and also networking is part of the behavior. If your employer is sending you to a conference or to or an award ceremony or a dinner with a client, you have to make sure you are representing the organization. You have to make sure that you are presenting yourself well and that you are meeting other people at the same level, that the organization expects you to. So it's
Hmm.
you're not off the hook there, just because it's after hours. As long as you are at an event that is a business event, you are representing the organization and you must behave in the same way that you behave at the workplace.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point.
Yeah. So we have to be mindful of those things. And that's where the mentors that you were talking about come in. And, at the workplace, where they're telling the young adults, okay, this is how it works in the workplace. This is how you need to behave. So make sure that you are following those advice from the mentor. So those are
Yeah.
important as well.
And these are really life lessons as well. It's these are things that are going to help you throughout your entire life. There's very few people that find the first job and stay there and they dress the way they want. They come in and out when they want. That's
Mhm.
called being your own boss and an entrepreneur. But even at that point in time,
Mhm.
you are still bound to your clients.
Mhm.
So there's again, this is a life teaching uh, moment or lesson to be able to do all these things and understand what to do. As you mentioned that word protocol, there are protocols everywhere. You can't just say, I'm going to do what I want because I am who I am. So leave me alone. Well, you will be alone, unemployed, and living on the streets.
Yeah, your parents are not gonna be happy.
No, because they're going to tell you to get out when you're 37 years old.
Yeah, exactly. So professional etiquette is another one of the, 7 keys. And
Hmm.
that also involves, how to answer a phone, how to reply to an email. I've noticed that a lot of young adults have a hard time how to write an email. So we have to teach them, they on the subject line, they write the content of the message. And that's not what the subject line is for. So I get a lot of emails too from my students, and I'm like, okay, we need to do a lesson on how to write an email. And then, especially when they say, hey, you. No,
Hmm.
I'm not hey, you. It's like it has to be professional how you write an email, even if it is to your teacher. It's so there has to be a switch in the mind that you, even though you're a student or a college student, high school, middle school, whatever it is, you have to address the person as Mr. or Mrs. and be professional in your communication. A lot of people
Right.
just like to write the emails on all capital letters. And that's considered like you are yelling at the person. It's like it's important to establish good communication, like verbal communication, but also written communication, how to send an email properly. So
Yes.
that's very important.
I think part of that, the younger generation and even the older generation who use phones, we've gotten used to text messaging and we use acronyms or we shorten things and we use
Uh-huh.
emojis. That's not what you should be doing on emails, especially if you're going to communicate with somebody that's a professional. You
Mhm.
don't want to send out your resume or do a research on something and at the end just put a smiley face. No, 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 no. You don't do that. This, unless you're friends and you know them, but
Mhm.
um, and even if you know them, but if they're a president of the company, you may not want to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you can't say, "Well, it's my mom's friend."
Yeah.
No, that
No.
doesn't matter.
At the workplace,
You are
she's not your
representing,
mom's friend.
right? You're representing yourself to this person. It's your mom's friend.
And also,
So,
uh, uh, stay away from using so many exclamation marks. That drives me crazy too. It's like, why are we using exclamation marks? This is not an exclamation.
yes, I know it's important, but stop doing that.
Yeah,
Stop. I can read it.
it's not proper. And also how to dress, when you're representing an organization, or what is the appropriate dress code, to look professional. That is
Yeah.
important, you know? So that's part of professional etiquette. If you're going to go and have a dinner with your boss or supervisor and a client, make sure that you know what fork to use or how to, you know, sit correctly, how to use a fork. and a knife. Make sure that you know that the knife is not just for cutting your food, but also to make sure that you put the food in on your fork and you eat it. Because a lot of people, I don't understand how they use their finger with their fork and they just push the food. And like, there's a knife perfectly like laying there on your table. Just use it. That's what it's for. Don't use your finger to push the food on your fork and then eat it. It's like, ah.
I may be in trouble at your house. No.
So people say, oh, that doesn't matter. It does matter because, that's the way
Yes.
people are going to see you. A
Yeah.
client might notice that and you're not giving a good impression. Like, where did was this person grow up, in a barn, Make sure you use the proper etiquette, manners, when you're eating, out with your boss and a client. So that's important.
Yeah.
It sounds like obvious, but obviously it's not.
And that's the thing that we mentioned at the very beginning is these things that we talk about are obvious things. They're very simple to correct. And I think even a lot of times we may look at somebody or a friend and go, "What? Look at what they're doing. Oh boy." But we
Mhm.
don't realize that we do the same thing.
Mhm.
So we're criticizing and critiquing somebody else, but we also need to be aware of what we are doing.
Yeah, because the way actually I have heard of young adults who have lost their jobs because of the way they behave at the table, that it was not
Wow.
proper behavior. And
Yeah.
these are some things that we need to learn. They need to learn, either the parents teach them or somebody else. It's like proper etiquette, how to eat at a table with other adults who are part of your workplace, your boss, your supervisor, a client. It makes the organization look bad if you're not behaving properly. Yeah, to be too
Yeah.
casual, or the same way you eat with think about it as you're eating with the king and the queen, and that's how you need to behave. If you want to eat differently when you're home, that's fine. But when you are out representing the organization, have in mind, I am eating with the king and the queen, so I need to be on my best behavior and use, and if you don't know how to do it, just Google, proper etiquette or table manners. And there are a lot of videos on how to use the right fork, the knife, how to break the bread, because you don't just slice the bread and start putting, butter on it. You have to actually, take pieces of it, instead of the whole thing, and put it all in your mouth. How to use the glass of water, or how to hold a glass of wine. So all those things, it's interesting, how to do it. But
Yeah.
there are videos on YouTube how to do it if the young adult doesn't feel confident, about how is it that, oh, I'm gonna go to dinner, and to this fancy restaurant with my boss and a client. I'm nervous. What am I gonna do? Go to YouTube and Google, their table manners. How should I behave? hmm And that's important.
It's and if somebody doesn't understand that or understand what we're talking about, the simple word to understand that everybody knows is embarrassed or embarrassment. Because if you're going there as a representative of the company, you're embarrassing the company and you're embarrassing yourself.
hmm
And if you still don't understand, think about it this way is if you go someplace with your friend and your friend is all of a sudden doing something stupid, you might say, "Don't embarrass me," or "You're embarrassing me." That's the same thing,
hmm
in a sense, is that you're doing something that embarrasses the company, which is a reflection on the company because you are representing the company.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um
And that brings me to the other um, key. The
mhm.
sixth key is digital citizenship. Clean up your social media. Employers are looking at what you are doing on social media. They look at TikTok, they look at Instagram, YouTube, and if they see things that are not aligned with their organization, they're not going to give you a job, or they're probably not even going to give you the opportunity to interview for a particular job. And some things that are extremely to avoid on social media is talking about drugs, posting videos of you, partying all night and getting drunk, or things that are pornography, or things that are completely inappropriate, anti-Semitism or anti anything, any racial group, that is a complete no-no. So
Hmm.
so make sure that your social media reflects who you really are as a person. Because if they see these kind of things, on a TikTok video that you made 5 years ago, it's still going to come and haunt you, even if it happened. We heard just recently about somebody who was going to be hired by the new mayor of New York as I think it was the director of communication. Some anti-Semitic, statement she made 12 years ago
Yeah.
on Twitter, where came back, and she didn't get the job. She was fired for that. So it's just these kids think, oh, it's there, it's gonna go away, nobody's gonna see it. Mm-mm. Yeah, they do see it. And it is
Yeah.
important to clean it up.
Yeah. Oh, number 6. Number 7 would be.
Number 7 is money matters.
I was
That
waiting
is
for that.
important. So I'm hoping that by this time they have already gotten the job, they're doing really well. And now, what are they going to do with their first paycheck? Because that's a shock. It's like, what happened to my money? Oh, we need to pay Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
Federal taxes, state taxes, whatever benefits you get, other fees. And then what you get is less than what you earn. So, so they need to have that rude awakening that that's no, they're not going to get 100% of what they earn. So there are all these things. But what is important also is that they start contributing to their retirement, to make sure that the students participate, the young adults participate in their 401k, because that's money in their pocket as well. Because a lot of organizations, you contribute a certain amount of money and your employer contributes money. So that's free money that goes to your future retirement. I know it's hard to think about it when you're in your 20s, that you're going to retire when you're like in your 60s or 70s, but it's important to think about the future. And also not
Yes.
just maximize that 401k as much as you can put in there. But not just that, open a Roth IRA account, which is another vehicle to save for retirement, which is tax-free in the end. So make sure that, the young adults are taking advantage of that from the beginning, because the younger they are, the more money is going to accumulate in the future by the time they retire. And it can be in the
Yeah.
millions, which is nice.
Which in their future, they're going to need millions.
Yes. The way things are going right now, everything is so expensive.
Yes. I mean, these 7 keys to empower your career readiness is fantastic. And like I said, this is really geared towards the Gen Z. Did you say the youngest at Gen Z is like 12 years old? The oldest is going to be
It's 28,
27,
29. Those are the oldest.
20.
So my daughters are in the middle of the Gen Z generation there.
So
They're in the
it's a
20s and
huge,
24.
yeah, it's a huge span right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to be prepared right now for tomorrow. So this has been really, really good. Uh,
Thank you.
Christiane, can you let everybody know once again the full title of your book, and where they can go if you have a website to check everything out? Because this is a lot of important information, and this was a lot of information.
Yes, and there's more in the book that we didn't
Yeah.
get chance to cover. So this is my book, Professional Life Skills for Young Adults: 7 Keys to Empower Career Readiness, and they can find it on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Bookshop.com. So, and I
Do you
hope
have a web page
that
or
the
anything?
parents listening, they take it seriously. I'm sure they don't want their kids to get fired or not be prepared for the workplace. So make sure that you get them the book, and read it with them, so that you can coach them, you can guide them on how these things, are supposed to happen.
That's right. If you're going to go to the interview with him, read the book with him.
So that way you stay outside in the car if you're driving them.
Yeah. Bookmark the page and say, "Did you do this? Did you do that?"
Yeah.
So, wow. This this has been very, very good. I think it's going to be very helpful for not only the Gen Z, the students, the young adults, but for the parents of the young adults. I think this is going to be very helpful for them as well. And I'm going to try it again. Christiane Meneses Jacobs.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Chuck. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I better go check my skills list and see if I'm failing on anything.